Food insecurity, leading a life without sustenance in Canada. In the fast-paced stop-and-go world we live in today, we often overlook such things as the food we eat and is often taken for granted, but there are many who are not as fortunate. Food insecurity can be defined as the inability to acquire or consume an adequate diet, quality, or sufficient quantity of food in socially acceptable ways, or the uncertainty that one will be able to do so. Now, let's see what McMaster Food Collective Center Executive Teja Koi has to say about food insecurity and its prevalence within Canada. What is food insecurity?
Insecurity is just the inability to access nutritious food that will maintain your health. A lot of people, when they're talking about food security, will talk about like the 5 A's: availability, accessibility, acceptability, agency, and adequacy. At any point that one of those 5 or any number of those 5 sort of facets of food security aren't met, that's when you have food insecurity, either at like the individual or societal level.
Why is food insecurity prevalent within Canada?
How it manifests in countries that are like regarded as more like highly developed, like Canada or the United States. I think this is food is regarded more as a commodity than a right. So when we're talking about food, we're sort of working within like the global and national corporate food regime. So just like responsible for the distribution and production of food to ensure that they are food secure, and it's more focused on like procuring a profit. So yeah, I think within a capitalist society that Canada runs on, there are all of these societal and cultural factors that feed into food insecurity that manifests in any number of ways.
So now let's take a look at some statistics concerning food insecurities in Canada. In 2017, 1 in 8 households in Canada were food insecure, and this amounted to a total of 4.4 million people. These food insecurities have detrimental health impacts upon individuals. Adults living in food insecure households have been reported to have poorer physical health and are more vulnerable to a wide range of chronic conditions such as diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, arthritis, and back problems. Food insecurity is an intergenerational problem. Based on data from the Canadian National Longitudinal Survey of Children and Youth, they found that children hunger was a predictor of depression and suicidal ideation during late adolescence and young adulthood. So clearly, food insecurity is a problem that needs to be addressed immediately.
Now we will talk about food policies that are regulated in Canada. Food policy is developed to guide food-related decisions and actions in order to improve people's lives and health, the economy, and their environmental health. Starting from 2001, Canada food policy continued to develop, and the most recent food policy was established in 2019. As mentioned in the earlier video, previous government actions to address food system issue is not sufficient. Therefore, the first ever food policy for Canada is established in 2019 to build a healthier and more sustainable food system to support growth for farmers, producers, and food business in Canada. We will now talk about the vision, the process of development, and key actions taken. The vision of the food policy is all people in Canada are able to access a sufficient amount of safe, nutritious, and culturally diverse food. For the process of development, in order to identify the key gaps of the food system, public consultation on the food policy for Canada took place in 2017. Feedback came from people who work with food system and who are active on food issues such as food security and food waste. In 2018, What We Heard report is released to outline the priorities of people across this country for the food policy for Canada. Budget 2019 announced over $134 million in initial investment to support the food policy. There are 4 significant areas within the food system that have been identified as key gaps that require action taken. Action 1 is to increase funding to help Canadian communities to access healthy food. Second is to make Canadian food the top choice at home and abroad to support food processors. Thirdly, related to population priority, they support food security in northern and indigenous communities. Finally, is to reduce food waste in order to support a shift towards more sustainable food practice.
So the new Canadian food policy is great, but let's see what else can the government do to improve food security. Number 1, updating food insecurity data. Some food security data available is outdated. The last time Canadian food security data was published was in 2018. Updating food insecurity data every single year will allow us to accurately see what is improving and what still needs to be done. Number 2, the right to food. The human rights law states everyone has the right to health, including food. In countries like Ukraine, Brazil, and South Africa, just to name a few, the right to food is an official right. However, in Canada, the right to food is not an official right, so an actual right to food will motivate the government to take proper action. Number 3. Improve farming techniques. Singapore has the best food security because of their unique farming technologies, like growing crops in vertical stacked layers, merging fish farming and growing crops together, and converting waste products into useful things like medicine.
As you've seen throughout the video, food insecurity is a major problem that exists today. It exists in many countries and remains a worldwide issue, even in highly developed countries like Canada. However, there are a lot of simple things we can do to prevent food insecurity. Let's take a look at some. The first way are food banks. During the winter months, especially during Thanksgiving and Christmas, many food donation organizations ask for donations so they can distribute the food to the less fortunate. Small donations from each household at the end of the month can add up and really help those that face food insecurity. Many donation centers are located within towns and cities at the nearest community center. A leading cause of food insecurity is poverty. You can help reduce poverty by donating to various charities online by simply donating money or participating in events to raise money. Once poverty starts to decline, so will food insecurity. By reducing poverty, more families will earn a minimum income, which allows them to purchase food. Last but not least, it's important for those who have food on the table to maintain and learn sustainable habits. This means not throwing away food that you're not eating, buying more food than you need, or just wasting food in general. Food is an important necessity for everyone, and we need to make sure to protect that and value it. Maintaining and learning sustainable habits can go a long way in reducing food insecurity. Today we learned that food insecurity is a major problem that can lead to various detrimental health outcomes. There are emerging policies that can help reduce food insecurity, and we can learn from other countries to further improve these. The issue of food insecurity can become more transparent thanks to research and media coverage, and together as citizens, it is our duty to raise awareness for food insecurity and make the world a better place.